Are you actively planning your move to Germany and starting to feel that overwhelm build up as the move date is getting closer? You're not alone. Upending your life and moving to a completely new country is disruptive and chaotic. Most people get anxious because they don't know what to do first or are scared of actually missing a crucial step when moving to Germany. In this video, we're going to give you a clear 90-day plan that you can use so your move can go more smoothly without the chaos and last-minute stress. Hey, my name is Jen and I'm from Guatemala.
And mine is Yvonne and I'm German.
And together we're from simplegermany.com, where we help internationals move and settle into life in Germany more smoothly.
All right, let's get you from overwhelmed to confident. We will break our 90-day moving plan into 3 actionable 30-day sprints, so you know what to consider and to do when. To stay organized, you can also get all of the steps we're talking about as an overview in a PDF that we put together, which you find the link to in the description. To start this 90-day plan, we will begin the timeline with 90 days before you move.
Okay, so first sprint is day 90 to 60. Get your foundations in place. Step number 1 is to finalize your legal entry to Germany. Whether you need a visa or not, make sure to have all those documents ready before you actually fly here.
And number 2 actually plays into that because that is to figure out your health insurance. And again, whether you need a visa or not, you might already have looked into this. If not, then now is the time because every single person, regardless of whether you need a visa or not, needs to have health insurance when moving to Germany.
Including EU citizens.
Yes. If you want to get more clarity on the topic of health insurance and which type fits you best, you can use our health insurance finder that we have linked in the description to run a little quiz to get an answer that helps you out.
Number 3 is to review your budget, and if you haven't created a budget, is to actually create one so you have an overview of all the expenses that you're gonna go through when actually moving here. So of course you can do different budgets depending of your life situation, and here are just a few to give you some inspiration of what to consider. Pre-move admin stuff. And think here, for example, the cost of your visa, if you need to travel to an embassy or consulate to get that visa, document translations, if you need them to be translated into German, health insurance as some examples. Another bucket we can think of is to actually plan for your move. So how much is your flight gonna cost? And not only that, but also your baggage, right? Like, are you gonna book extra luggage and how much will that cost if you're bringing more than the 23 kilos that you're allowed to fly with? Transfers, if you're considering a transfer from the airport to actually going to your home when you get here in Germany, and if you're moving with a pet, how much does that actually also cost? Another bucket to consider is how much money do you need for your first month in Germany? Some bureaucratic things I need to consider is, for example, how much money you will need to convert your visa if you need one to a residence permit. There's some costs going into that. Public transportation as well. How much do you need for rent, deposit for that rent, grocery shopping, and maybe anything fun that you want to do throughout the first month that you're here? You should also consider that into your budget.
Next up is to actually research your new German city. Time to get excited a little bit. Get to know the different neighborhoods that exist and maybe identify a few that you vibe with. Not that there's a guarantee that you will find an apartment there, but just to get an understanding of it. Generally speaking, our recommendation when it comes to neighborhoods in any city in Germany is to try to stay away from the area around, the closest area around the main central station. In German it's called Hauptbahnhof, because there it tends to be sometimes a little bit sketchy. Then of course also look into how the public transportation in your city works, not just the cost, but also the availability, are there trains, trams, buses, whatever is around so that you are familiar with what to expect. And you might want to consider joining already some other online groups from people of your nationality or from your country in your new city. It always helps to have someone to connect with when you're arriving.
Yes, some recommendations of where to look for this is Facebook groups, for example, and there's also apps like Meetup and what's the other one? Eventbrite, where you can actually maybe not join groups per se, but look already at what activities you could join when you land here. Okay, so that sets up sprint 1, and now let's go to sprint 2, which is from day 59 to 30, which has to do with the logistics and admin of your move.
Number 1 in this bucket is to figure out your finances in your home country as well as in Germany. And mainly what I'm hinting at here is how are you going to move your money from your home country to Germany? And the most efficient way these days is with a multi-currency account. So start looking into that. Can you open it already from your home country? Do you have to wait until you're in Germany? Just get your knowledge going on this subject, because the traditional bank wire is no longer the way to go. Way too expensive and way too slow. Another important question to consider is whether you will keep your bank account in your home country. And if so, if there's any regulations you need to follow because you'll be leaving that country. Another question to consider is how will you get your first cash injection or money injection when you're in Germany? Will you travel with cash? Then remember that you can take maximum an equivalent of 10,000 euros with you in cash. Otherwise, you will need to declare it with customs once you enter the EU.
Additional to that, if you want to use credit cards during your first months here in Germany, remember, or actually don't remember because you don't know this, know that American Express is actually not widely accepted in Germany. And another thing is that you will need cash for sure because some establishments in Germany still only accept cash or a very specific debit card, which you don't have yet.
Yes, so which cards are widely accepted? That's Visa and MasterCard. And then you can already start planning or researching, better said, which German bank will accept you as a new customer once you're here. You cannot really open a bank in Germany while you're still abroad. Best way is to wait till you're in Germany and then do your research. We've built a beautiful tool for you called Banky that we will also link in the description below because not every bank will accept you depending on your nationality and your residence status. So please use Banky to avoid unnecessary rejections, which can lead to other implications with your credit score down the line.
Next step in this sprint, which is step number 2, is to get your temporary residence in Germany. First, a little bit of context. Germany is a renter's country, meaning the majority of people rent apartments and they actually stay in these apartments for a very long time. So actually buying a property in Germany, we would consider it like mega advanced immigration living. So the best way that we think to move to Germany for a smooth transition is to actually get a temporary apartment. The reasons are many, but some that we can share with you is that long-term apartments tend to come unfurnished and without a kitchen here in Germany. Not only unfurnished, but some of them don't even have light bulbs installed yet. So imagine landing in a new country and not only do you need to take care of all the bureaucratic stuff and all the getting to know things, but on top of that, you need to take care of your apartment because otherwise you'll be probably sleeping on the floor for the first few nights.
And you don't have internet.
And you don't have internet and electricity is something you need to consider. Anyways, it can become a very stressful experience. Versus if you rent a short-term rental apartment, you have all the utilities included, all the furniture is there. So literally it's just about landing and taking care of the most pressing things first. And then when you're more relaxed, you can explore the city around you and understand where you would like to live for a longer term.
Another benefit of starting or going that route is that while you are already in Germany for a couple of months, you automatically get your credit score. It's nothing that you need to build in Germany. You are getting it in the best way possible, and then you just need to maintain it. But you cannot get it without being here. And for most long-term apartments, that credit score is a must-have. Now, there's one massive disclaimer when it comes to booking your first temporary housing, and that is make sure that you can register your address with it. Because that first step of landing in Germany is the bureaucratic entry to the system of Germany. And some holiday homes that you might find on Airbnb or other platforms will not allow you to do so. So just make sure that you can register your address. It's called Anmeldung in Germany with that first housing. Otherwise, you are building a tripwire that is very unnecessary.
Yes, and also just to give you an estimation, most internationals, when they move to Germany, they rent a temporary home for 3 to 6 months. And then after that, they're emotionally and everything else is prepared for them to find a long-term apartment a lot easier and with less hassle.
Step 3 in our second bucket is to actually book your flight and determine your arrival date. And then, of course, do some research on how to navigate from the airport to your new German home. Some popular options here are public transport, aka trains. You can rent a car, you can book a private transfer, or, and that would of course be the nicest if you have friends or relatives here, arrange a pickup from them.
And of course, just for clarity, you can also take a taxi, which they're highly also regulated in Germany, and they will charge you a set tariff to take you anywhere.
Which I would say is only really a viable option for if you land in the same city that you live in.
Yes. Okay, with Sprint 2 done, now it's really the final stretch, the final countdown. And that is day 30 to day 0, which has to do with the final prep and touchdown plan. So step number 1 here is to gather your most important documents and actually bring them to Germany. Don't leave them back home. Think marriage certificates, university degrees, what else comes to mind?
Birth certificates, if you have them, if you have them.
Yeah, property, titles, like anything that is really relevant for your life and important, don't leave them at home, bring them with you, and actually we would recommend to scan them and also bring a real copy of them. Depending on the bureaucratic processes you're going to go through in your life in Germany, it's better to have these documents with you than then having to go through the hassle of figuring out where they were or who to ask and get them from your home country, which can be very stressful. Trust me, I know from experience.
Next up is to consider your packing plan, and we just call it pack smart, and less is more in this instance, especially, let's say, for your first move into an unfurnished apartment. Usually what people do and what we also recommend is to just take a few bags, like luggages with you. If you plan to start with a furnished temporary housing, it doesn't make any sense to have your furniture shipped at the same time. Either you don't do that at all or you do that at a later step. That's very individual. So for your luggages that you're going to take with you, consider taking what you're actively using in your current life. Doesn't make much sense to pack something that you haven't used for the past 3 years, hoping that you will use it in Germany, unless it's highly relevant.
Yeah.
When it comes to electronics, then please make sure that they are functional in Germany. We have 230 voltage, so depending on where you live, maybe not everything could work. Typical example is a hairdryer. Some travel hairdryers, you can actually change the voltage on them, so that could work. If they don't have 230, leave them behind because they will not do any good. They just take up space.
Yes, and you can buy a hairdryer here very inexpensively as well.
And speaking of electronics as well, depending on where you come from, be sure that you have a converter or adapter for the electricity items that you can use. Think phone charger, laptop charger, anything like that, to actually be able to use our plugs in the walls.
Ooh, and another very good recommendation here is to actually pack some comfortable shoes. Europe is known for the land of walking. And if you're not used to walking actually a lot, this might come as a shock because alone walking from the train station to your destination and vice versa, it involves a lot of walking. That was actually one of my first culture shocks when arriving to Europe. Oh my God, I walk so much. So definitely pack some comfortable shoes that you can be walking around because especially in your first few months, you're gonna have to move a little bit to take care of some bureaucratic and life things.
Next up is one of the most important steps that you should be taking care of before you move, and that is to make an appointment in the city of your choice with the local Bürgeramt, with the registration office, to then, once you're here, register your address, what we've mentioned prior.
Disclaimer here, you said city of your choice, and I would say the city that you're moving to.
Yes, sorry, that's what I meant by choice, that you're moving to. Yeah. Correct, yes. And this appointment is super important that you do it before you travel because by law, you're actually required to register your address within 14 days after arrival. If you're planning to stay here longer than 90 days, which that's the whole point of this video, right? So depending on the city, you can do that appointment between 2 weeks before and 2 months before your arrival date. So just do your research here and set up that appointment because without that, nothing will move your life forward in Germany.
I didn't pay attention if you mentioned, but the word for this is Anmeldung in German.
Good job.
Yeah. Step number 4 in the sprint is to actually get your phone ready for your move to Germany. First one is to actually install relevant apps. I'm pretty sure you already have some of the apps installed. Uber is used in Germany, for example, so if you already have it, cool. But other very kind of like more specific apps has to do with WhatsApp. If you don't use WhatsApp to communicate, that's like the #1 communication app in Germany, I would say. And additional to that is public transportation apps. Here you can download the Deutsche DB Navigator is called, and that's from the Deutsche Bahn, which is the like national public transportation app. And every city has their own individual app for public transportation. Don't ask me why. Video for another topic. Topic for another video.
We can't say why, but it's topic for another video.
Out of the scope. But anyways, research the city that you're moving to, what app they use, download it. A lot of them are already very digital and in English, so it's super easy to understand. And also very important is to download Google Translate or any other translation app, because especially when going, for example, for groceries shopping or stuff like that, you will see things that you probably don't understand what they mean. And there's nothing cooler than actually using Google Translate to actually understand what things mean. And after you've installed your apps, another recommendation we can give is to look into an eSIM if your phone actually supports this, because this is going to be the fastest and quickest way for you to land here and be connected already. eSIMs allow you to connect from all over the world very inexpensively, and you can use that for your first months before you actually get a German phone number. Because getting a German phone number, it's relatively easy, but there's a process involved. So definitely...
For example, your registration of your address.
For example. So definitely getting an eSIM if your phone supports it is the quickest way to just maintain your connectivity while you land here and figure things out.
Number 5 in our last sprint is more of a fluffy one, but I do want to mention it, and that is to mentally prepare yourself for culture shocks and all the to-dos you have to do once you land, because there is a bunch of them. And the culture shocks is just a thing that regardless of how good you are prepared and you think you know everything, feeling is knowing. And when arriving, you will encounter things that are just different to how you are used to them working in your current home.
One hot tip, which other internationals have mentioned as well in our community, is as an example, stop or don't fall into the trap of comparing how things work in Germany versus how they worked where you're coming from, because that's the easiest way to kind of like reach this level of frustration by saying like, oh, but things were better in my home country or stuff like that. So just take it as an adventure. Things are going to be a little bit different than what you're used to here in Germany, and that's okay.
And that's maybe also one of the reasons why you're doing this move in the first place.
Yeah, for the adventure. The next one on this sprint is actually to pack a journal, and not only pack it, but actually start using it before you move to Germany. This is another kind of like fluffy one, but this comes from my personal experience. When I first moved to Europe in 2010, I started a journal to just process all my emotions and rant to it or be super excited with all the things that I was going through. And it's a cool tool. First, like I said, to process your emotions. And second of all, 13 years later, when I look at these journals, I have to laugh and smile because some things that I thought were super crazy and new now are like completely normal. And I actually complain when other countries don't have the same stuff. No, I'm kidding. And yeah, it's a really cool tool. So if you're into journaling or want that as a tip, you can get a physical book, which would be my personal preference, where you actually write every day or whenever you feel like it, or if not, in your phone. That's a cool tool, I think, to process this turmoil of events and exciting events that will happen in your life soon.
Now you're watching this video because you have a goal, and that is to move to Germany successfully. We've created a free PDF as an overview of all of the things that we mentioned in this video for you to not have to keep them in your head or rewatch this video 10 times. You can grab it via the link in the description below to take the stress out of your move. Until next time.
Tschüss!